even if the holder of the benefits has the most Cadillac plan you can think of. Someone like a pedestrian or a cyclist with no benefits who's involved in an accident, that's the absolute worst case scenario.
Across the Village Media Network and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Welcome back to Closer Look with Michael Friscalani, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media. I'm Scott Sexsmith, Zach Trunzo, executive producer of the program, in the room as well. I always feel now that we've shifted to this weekly thing that we should just, pour a cup of morning Sunday coffee and just kind of get caught up because we never see each other.
I know.
Anymore.
Actually, I don't see you at all anymore. I know. It's crazy.
There's a void.
We did have that big blowout before we went weekly. That's part
Don't
of the
start
reason.
rumors.
That's part of the reason. No. It is. It's a different pace. I missed the daily show, but I'm enjoying the weekly show. I was just thinking about how nice you look with that little kerchief or whatever you got in there. What do you call those things?
Well, some call it a puff. Some call it a pocket square, although it's not shaped square.
No, it's like it's nice.
It actually matches your shirt.
See? That's all coordinated. See, we don't have to talk it anymore.
No. See, I should just pull that out.
It's just...
and you could just stick it right in your pocket.
A bird came out of there.
It's like a magic trick.
You see that? Yeah, that's right. How much do those things cost?
Oh, huge.
Huge money, yeah. You're going to have to
now, unless, of course, you go to Moore's Clothing for Men.
Yes, that's right.
Then not huge.
On Great Northern Road.
And all across this great country of ours.
Yes.
It's funny you talk about the price of pocket squares, which I don't think has gone up very much. Everything else around us, though, certainly has.
Yeah, it's a broken record, but, just being at the grocery store, any services where you feel like you're getting as the nice weather comes in, it's just way more expensive. I'm not a person that eats out a lot. Like, we barely go to restaurants, but we had a little thing to celebrate the other day, and we went out for dinner, and it was just crazy. The price.
Really?
But I also feel for the restaurants, their costs have gone up like crazy,
for sure.
right? So they're passing it along to the customer. It's just people are feeling the pinch, and I feel like it's still the calm before the storm. It's just going to get worse, right? Depending on what happens with oil prices. But it's just I wish, and I'm sure it's out there on the great thing called the internet.
Yes.
But imagine a flyer in 2017 for No Frills or Food Basics. It would be almost like a joke. Do you think it's a joke if you could find one from back then, like how much milk was, how much cheese was, for how much fruits were? I mean, it's just insane how much the price has gone up. And I've always been that. We've talked about food safety and best before dates on the show in the past too, but I'm a nutcase for not wasting food. I don't waste anything. Right?
Absolutely, man.
If there's something in the fridge that's got to go, I make something with that. Like I work around it. When the kids know we don't chuck food, and I can't stand doing that. But it's forcing you to be even more careful. Not just because throwing food out is just, you may as well take the cash and put it in the garbage can.
Absolutely.
That's how much it costs. And then you talk about things like just the cost of an oil change. Again, we're old. Remember an oil change was $29.99 or $39.99?
Yep.
You're paying like triple digits now, $150, $180 for an oil change.
When did oil become a $150 thing?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's like swapping winter tires. Now, look, some will call me a boomer, and that's fine. But I remember getting my winter tires taken off, and it would cost $5 a tire.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah.
And with tax, it came to like $22.65.
What is it now?
It is not that. It is. I think at the dealership that I go to, it was $60
per tire.
No, total.
Oh, total, yeah.
But that's 3 times what I paid less than, I'm going to say, 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you talk about the costs of like you renewing your home insurance or your auto insurance. And that's what we're going to talk about today because there's some new auto insurance rules coming into place. Is it July 1st?
July 1st, yes.
So July 1st. And we're going to get into it with a great guest today. But in terms of the idea is that it might save a few bucks for consumers, but it might also put you on the hook in the worst case scenarios if you don't have the right insurance. So we're going to talk about all that today. Who's our guest?
Our guest is a returning guest, friend of the show, as we like to call them, Tudor Gadget. He's an associate lawyer with Oatley Vigmond Law Firm in Barrie. Starting July 1st, Ontario drivers will face one of the biggest shakeups to auto insurance in decades. The Ford government says the new system gives drivers more choice and flexibility, but critics warn, among other things, it could leave people unknowingly exposed after a serious crash. Supporters say it modernizes insurance and may lower premiums. Opponents, meantime, say it shifts financial risk from insurers onto families at the worst possible moment after a devastating accident. Joining us to talk about the changes is lawyer Tudor Gadget from Oatley Vigmont, who works closely with accident victims and understands what these benefits actually mean when someone's life changes in an instant. Tudor, welcome back to the show. Always good to see you.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me again.
No problem. We were just talking before we went on air just about how the last time we had you on, we were talking about candy being thrown from parade floats, which I still think is a fascinating issue. Like, and as we were saying, I'm sure it was the highlight of your career to come on and talk about that.
Yeah, this might be a more hot button issue, but we'll see.
I think you're right.
Okay, let's jump in here, Tudor. For people hearing about this for the first time, and many of them are, what's the single biggest thing that Ontario drivers may not realize that they're about to lose?
Yeah, I think the single biggest thing that people might not realize is that accident benefits is more than just about protecting yourself in case where, you get in an accident and maybe you need some repairs done to your car. It almost functions as another type of disability benefits, if you want to think of it that way. And I'll explain what I mean by that. A lot of people, think about accident benefits. You think, I might be covered for some medical treatment. My doctor says, I need 10 weeks of physio after my accident. And so accident benefits will come in and will cover some of those costs. But accident benefits also includes income replacement. So up to $400 a week for people who are working. And that doesn't sound like a lot. But that's because it hasn't changed since 1996, I believe, with inflation. But it's something, right? It also includes non-earner benefits. So if you're a student maybe and you're driving, it can still cover you for some of those lost educational expenses. All of those things are going to become optional starting July 1st, right? If you already have a policy with your insurance company, those benefits that you already have are going to continue unless you provide consent to remove some of them. Mm-hmm. But for new policies, so anyone who is maybe a new driver, a young driver, those are not going to be added to your policy unless you explicitly ask for them, right? And that'll come with an increased premium. Mm-hmm. So the question is just, are people going to go for them? I don't think so, right? You have, increased costs all across the board. And I don't need to be the one to tell people about that. And insurance is just one of those things that, hey, if I can maybe shave $20-$50 a month off my insurance bill, that's a no-brainer, mm-hmm. right? But what are we really giving up in exchange? And a lot of those benefits that used to be mandatory are going to become optional. So
that's really what's happening here, right? For a long time, these were mandatory parts of you. If you had auto insurance, you had to have these accident benefits that covered you under cases of disability or time off work, things like that. But now some of that's becoming you can choose it. You can select it if you want it. That's what's happening here, right, Tudor? So what exactly, just to be clear again, what exactly is coming off that's not going to be mandatory, but you can opt in?
So like I mentioned, income replacement benefits, that's going to become optional. Housekeeping and home maintenance. So if you need help after an accident with housekeeping, taking care of your property, taking care of snow removal, grass cutting, anything like that, that's going to become optional. Mm-hmm. Caregiver benefits. So if anyone needs to take care of you while you're injured and you need care, those are going to become optional. There's also death and funeral benefits. So if someone close to you passes away because of an accident, you're currently entitled to a mandatory death benefit and to be paid for funeral expenses. That's also going to become optional. There's also things like visitor expenses. If someone's visiting you in the hospital, and they're staying overnight, maybe they're taking an Uber to see you every day, those are also going to become optional. So it's a big swath of things. What's staying mandatory is the medical rehabilitation and attendant care. So if you need any kind of help with medical expenses, that's going to remain mandatory.
Tudor, the government calls this consumer choice, but realistically, how well do most people understand accident benefit coverage when they're buying insurance?
I don't think people understand it very well. And I think that's the issue. There's nothing wrong with consumer choice, but people need to know what they're choosing, right? A lot of people already don't understand accident benefits, and that might be for good reason, because we have this mandatory system that we know across the board people will be covered in all these situations. Now we're increasing the complexity of that, saying people will have this choice. Well, fair enough. But how many people are going to spend hours and hours on the phone, with brokers or even on their own negotiating between insurance companies to try to figure out the right thing. I don't think that's very likely. I think people are just going to go for, what's the bare minimum so that I can shave some money off my insurance bill. It's also important that, like, if people's situation changes, like, let's say right now, maybe I'm a single guy, I'm 24 years old, and I have no interest in any of those benefits. But in a couple of years, things change. Maybe I have a kid, and I suddenly have a dependent, and I want to make sure they're also covered.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would have to change those benefits. Well, if I have a young child, the last thing I want to do is hop on the phone with my insurance company and renegotiate my coverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to put a lot of people at risk, unfortunately.
Yeah, that we're going to get into that. And just in terms of what's the potential for how much someone could save if they go from what they have now with all the mandatory stuff to the lowest possible form of insurance?
We haven't seen any concrete numbers. I don't think it's going to be much, because as it stands right now, if you were to go to your insurance company and try to increase your coverage, it doesn't cost that much to increase it. So how much people are going to save off their premiums, that remains to be seen. And it really depends on individual circumstances. It also is the type of thing where the point of insurance is to pool risk among a large segment of the population, right? So I think over time, right, it makes sense. I'm not an actuary, I'm not an economist or anything, but if a bunch of people are foregoing coverage and claims increase as a result of that, then wouldn't that increase premiums over the long term, right? So maybe there's going to be some short-term decreases, but I think in the long term, it's going to increase the cost overall, speaking.
Tudor, who's been pushing for these changes?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure when this came about, but I think it's just a government response to obviously the concern from people that insurance premiums are increasing and have been increasing for a long time. So I think the people are pushing it, and I think they're sick of seeing their premiums go up year after year, even though their record is clean. There's no reason why that should be happening. So I think we're just seeing this groundswell of support for that, and I don't blame people for going there. I just think you got to make sure you know what you're actually giving up in exchange for not taking some of these benefits.
Tudor, from your perspective, is it fair to say that Ontarians are trading substantial protection for what we might call relatively modest premium reductions?
I think that's possible. And that's the risk, and that's, I think, why it's important to, and again, difficult for people to do so these days if you don't have the time, but just understand your coverage, understand your specific situation and what's right for you and what type of coverage you need, and make a decision based on that, as opposed to just immediately going for the cheapest possible option, right?
From where you sit, Tudor, what's kind of the worst case scenario that you're worried about seeing once this takes effect?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, something that a lot of people don't know about these optional changes is it's not going to cover certain segments of the population that are currently covered. So what's going to happen is these optional benefits are not going to be available to people who aren't the named insured, so the person on the policy, their spouse or their dependents, and then also other people named as drivers in the policy. So anyone who's kind of at more arm's length is not going to be covered by optional benefits, even if the holder of the benefits has the most Cadillac plan you can think of. Someone like a pedestrian or a cyclist with no benefits who's involved in an accident, that's the absolute worst case scenario, because they're going to be able to benefit from those mandatory benefits, but they won't get anything from the optional benefits at all unless they have their own car insurance.
Tudor, bottom line here, when Ontarians get that renewal notice in the mail this summer, what should they absolutely be asking their insurance company before signing anything?
I think they should be asking, first of all, what is changing with my policy? The answer should be nothing, right? And second of all, should be asking, what are the options on offer, right? What are the options for me? And if you have a broker, to reach out to the broker and see, are there maybe some better options out there for where my life is currently at? So those are some of the biggest questions I would ask.
Have you taken a look at your own personal insurance with these changes coming down the pipe?
I haven't, not yet, but I know I've gotten some emails recently, which again, we're just over a month out from these changes. And so Yeah, I think my policy is renewing in December, so I still have some time to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But you talked about the top two, just with the cost of living pressure that so many of us are facing. People all across the province are just feeling the pinch everywhere they go. We were talking about this before you came on. There is that appetite for people to be finding savings wherever they can. That's your worry here too, right? That they're going to not look closely at the fine print and they're going to say, well, I can save $15 or $20 a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, again, it's understandable. And I'm not faulting anyone for thinking that. It's the pinches everywhere you go. It's just, insurance is one of those things that, like, no one wants to use their insurance, right? No one wants to be involved in an accident and hopes to make, get a benefit from all these things. It's just that when that happens, right, you really have to sit down and ask yourself, if I were in an accident where I couldn't work for 6 months or a year, would I be able to sustain that? And if not, maybe I need to think about my coverage. Maybe I do have a job that has a great long-term disability policy or short-term disability policy, and then I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But, as usually happens with these things, unfortunately, the people who are going to select these lower cost options are probably the people who are least able to absorb the cost of 6 months or a year of not working. So that's the big risk, I think.
Tudor, before we let you go, anything else on this issue that we didn't cover?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. Again, the most important takeaway is just know what you're getting yourself into. If you're a new driver or a young driver, try your best to understand these coverage options. Again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with choice as long as you know what you're getting into and what you're giving up.
And take the time to call your broker and get her or him to explain it to you, right?
100%.
All right, good stuff. From the law firm of Oatley Vigmond, there's a friend of the show, Tudor Gadget. Tudor, appreciate your time as always. Good to see you.
Thanks so much, Scott and Mike. Have a great day.
Love having Tudor on the program. He explains things in such a simplistic form that guys like you and I can understand. It's always a wonderful conversation.
That's right. And we call this service journalism. We hope people will watch this and say, you know what, I need to do a little bit more reading about this. I need to understand. Maybe I should call my insurance company. And that's the thing about insurance, which is so difficult. It's as you weigh risk reward, right?
Yeah.
Because you're always like, I wish, my house insurance could be a little lower, right? And
I hate insurance renewal time.
I know.
Hate it.
But you always think you do sleep better with that peace of mind knowing that you have the best possible insurance you can have. Because then you drive by, like we did the other day, there's a big house fire near us, and you see that and you're like, oh my goodness. You know? You would hate to have a half-baked insurance policy on a time like that. Same with if you get hurt in a car accident, you'd kick yourself for not having the right insurance.
For sure.
So you need, and I get what he's saying too. That if you're a younger person, you don't have any beneficiaries, no kids you're worried about. Maybe it's a different scenario, but you have to imagine with this that there's going to be so many Ontarians who had no idea the rules are changing.
None.
Especially the newer drivers who are coming on.
Yeah.
Who, you think I looked at my insurance when I got my insurance for the first time? Okay, you need car insurance. Okay, here we go. Sign. You're in your 20s. You're not thinking about, well, what's my print? What's my payout?
Explain my coverage.
Yeah, I had no idea, but you knew that it was all mandatory. You had to have this, so you signed it. You wanted to pay for it, so you get in the car and drive.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a young driver, you're going to get insurance for the first time. You have these options, and you have no concept of what these options are, right?
And when renewal time comes around, and for us it's every May, you get inundated with paperwork from the insurance. You got home and auto, and the package is like this thick.
I know.
It's all written in legalese.
I know.
Can't understand most of it. And that's why, communicating with your local broker, if that's the case, is key. Pick up the phone, call them. We're lucky, got a great guy that we can do that. He dumbs it down and explains it so that I understand it. But that's key. Take the time to make the call and make sure that you understand what you have and may not have.
Great. Well, I hope we all learned something from Tudor. Thanks for coming on.
We certainly did. Closer look at villagemedia.ca. Reach out and let us know your thoughts on this program or any other. And, of course, sign-ups always welcome at closerlookpodcast.ca. For Zach Trunzo, executive producer of the program, and pocket squareless Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media. I'm Scott Sexsmith. Thanks for your time. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. We'll see you next Sunday at 8 right here on Closer Look.
Briscoe and Scott's wardrobe provided in part by Moore's Clothing for Men.